Welcome back. Chad and Lori Daybell are scheduled to go on trial next year. When they do, Lori says she would love to sit next to her husband at the defense table. He, on the other hand, would rather have his own trial, doesn't want to be next to her at all in front of a jury. The judge, of course, will make the decision whether or not the two are tried together. The judge will also decide on change of venue, which, as we found out in some new filings, that is something that Lori and Chad can agree on. Lori's defense filed a motion which asks the court for an order transferring the case because a fair and impartial jury cannot be had in Fremont County, state of Idaho. Defendant requests a briefing schedule to allow both parties to submit to the court their memorandums, evidence, list of potential witnesses, if any, in regard to this motion. Let's bring in Court TV legal correspondent Chanley Painter. She's back with us, and Court TV special contributor Ashley Banfield. Chanley, Lori agrees that there should be a change of venue, but she also wants to be with her husband, Chad.
She does. So they may not agree on whether or not they want to be tried together, but they do both agree that the trial shouldn't happen in Fremont County. In fact, they want it out of East Idaho altogether. Lori's attorney has recently filed a motion to not only change venue, but also to combine Lori's misdemeanors in Madison County, where Rexburg, Idaho is, with her felonies in Fremont County, where she's charged with conspiracy to commit alteration, destruction, or concealment of evidence. Now, he's alleged that this is for the convenience of the parties. Under Idaho Rule of Criminal Procedure 21, you can allege that the same facts and the same evidence, meaning that you can combine both of these together. It just makes sense, he says, in his motion. So the burden, though, then is to combine the cases and then move them out of Fremont County. Both Chad and Lori agreed to do this, and they have to show that through evidence and through exhibits to the judge that a fair and impartial jury can't be impaneled there in Fremont County with jurors who haven't already made up their mind about the case. So that's where we are right now with this motion. And again, now Chad has a hearing date set for the change of venue motion. That's November 24th. It's likely that Lori's defense will also be able to argue during that hearing.
Ashley, we've seen a lot of these cases transpire where, and this one sure does seem like they're going to be tried together. Do you agree, or do you think that Chad has a legitimate argument to separate himself from his wife at trial, at least?
I think he has a legitimate argument. Whether he'll be granted that, I don't know. What I do find interesting, though, is that we've covered so many cases over the years, even gavel-to-gavel and even the prelims and all the rest. But I don't think I've covered a case in a long time where every single motion, look at us tonight, we are going over this page and a quarter motion, with a fine-tooth comb. There's such fascination with every word that's uttered about this case. And I think these two have a good point. It is going to be really hard for them to get a fair and impartial jury. That's not saying I weigh in either way on guilt or innocence for those two. I just find that the consumption of every shred of information from these two cases has been consumed voraciously, and that does make it troublesome. I sat through Casey Anthony's year-long jury selection process, and I saw each and every one of them getting up there. They actually sat in the witness box and had to be individually voir dired. And I saw the reactions from so many. So I get it. When there is a heavily scrutinized media case like theirs, it does change the metric. It does change the dynamic. I think they have a good point to make to move it out of Fremont County. I'm just not sure if you moved it to Timbuktu, like Chanley's guest once said, is going to make much of a difference. It did in Casey Anthony's case. They have finally impaneled a jury. They impaneled a jury, as you well know, for Scott Peterson. They impaneled a jury for OJ. So that's the granddaddy of them all. I say if you can get an OJ jury, you can get a Vallow Daybell jury.
Yeah, and I also think the Mormon saturation factor is key. You can't argue it, but that will also factor in on the jury. We're here, today is really a somber day for people that have been following this case. This is the day, exactly 1 year ago today, that the prosecution and detectives believe that J.J. Vallow either was killed today or maybe yesterday, but they do believe that his body was buried in Chad Daybell's backyard, wrapped in plastic and duct tape 1 year ago today. On the 22nd, the day yesterday, Melanie Gibb, we all know her, Lori's good friend, was staying with Lori, and she had with her her boyfriend. And we found out in the preliminary hearing some details of the last sighting, if you will, of JJ, and it was from Melanie Gibb's boyfriend. He testified that he was told that little JJ had turned into a zombie and that Uncle Alex had to come and take him away. Take a listen.
Did you talk to Lori about JJ that morning?
I did.
What did she tell you about JJ that morning?
She said that he was being a zombie and climbed up on the cabinets, climbed up on top of the fridge, smashed her picture of Christ down, and then climbed up onto the upper cabinets and got between the top of the cabinet and the ceiling.
Okay. And then what did she tell you?
I asked to see him, and she just said that he was out of control, so she had Alex come and get him.
And who was Alex?
Lori's brother.
Okay. Is that Alex Cox?
Yes.
Ashley, this is going to be a big part of the case, that Lori's brother, Uncle Alex, coming to get him. But your thoughts on what that little boy went through and his sister?
Well, I thought it was a really profound statement when those two witnesses also said that late at night, Uncle Alex came home with JJ on his shoulder, right? They were all sitting around doing a podcast that night, and they said JJ was acting up, and so Uncle Alex came to get him. That was on the 22nd. That would be a year ago last night. And that when he came home, they thought of it, and this hurts to even say it out loud, Ted Rollins, they thought it was a tender moment when they saw Uncle Alex bringing JJ home, what looked to be asleep on his shoulder. I seriously question that now, knowing that that little boy was being wrapped in plastic and placed under boards and stones the next morning by the pond in Chad's backyard. So it is possible that he died the night before, and it wasn't a tender moment, it was a murderous moment, and that Uncle Alex was carrying the lifeless, not tired body of JJ. It is entirely possible it happened the next morning, because the only other account we have from those two witnesses is that when they woke up, he wasn't there. At 9 a.m, they asked, "Where's JJ?" And they were told Uncle Alex came to get him. He was acting up again this morning, up on the cupboards and knocking off the Jesus picture and all the rest. But, God, you think about how much sadness it comes into this case. And you've got that moment where this boy a year ago, maybe last night or today, was murdered. And I'm just wondering if there were any birthday plans in the offings anywhere for his big sister Tylee, whose birthday it was supposed to be tomorrow, because she's supposed to turn 18 tomorrow. And back when this happened, she would have been 16, turning 17. So what was JJ saying about big sister Tylee's birthday tomorrow? Was there any planning for it? Because by our accounts now and by the affidavits, she'd have been buried for weeks.
Chandler, a lot of things we don't know in this case, but what we do know, what was happening exactly 1 year ago this week, includes the birthday, includes the JJ's last sighting, and also Mr. Doomsday hitman Alex Cox in the mix.
Absolutely. I just looked down. It says from 9:55 a.m. to 10:12 a.m., Alex Cox's phone pings directly over the north part of Chad Daybell's property, where the pond is, where 9 months later, they would eventually dig him up right there on the property on June 9th. And I know we have this video of a memorial. I was there back when the bodies were uncovered, the breaking news in June, and there was a memorial that was along the fence line there of the Daybell property. It grew and grew and grew every day with people bringing things. Well, the Daybells took that down right after the preliminary hearing. Well, the neighbors across the street, that's what we're seeing right now. This is from yesterday. There's a brand new memorial across the street from the Daybell property where people are still, to this day, bringing teddy bears, writing notes, leaving pictures and signs there for a community still dealing with this and healing from what has happened there in their small town.
Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Chanley. Wow. You know, that says something, doesn't it, guys? The fact that the Daybells took the memorial down on their fence, so the neighbors just went ahead and put it up across the street. I'm surprised they were that nice. I'm surprised they didn't take every one of those pictures and turn them into paper airplanes and throw them onto the property of the Daybells because they just want to honor the children's graves. And if that's where the children were buried, then damn it, why not let them honor the children in death? Why take them down? I think if I were one of the neighbors, I would have thrown those things onto the grave and said, to hell with you for taking it down. I'll put those honoring memorabilia where I want to. Thank you very much. Thank God the neighbors did that. Thank God someone cares about those kids.
Absolutely, yeah, that's pretty powerful to see those images and to know that those children are not forgotten, and obviously we're not forgetting them, and people around this country are following this case very closely, and they have not forgotten them on this one-year anniversary. And our thoughts to Larry and Kay Woodcock. Must be a difficult time for them. Thank you both.